having to call my mom from a payphone to tell her I'm in Cincinnati and her screaming on the phone and everyone seeing me from the balcony, laughing, being like, yo, you're gonna die when you get home. I'm like, whatever.
Hey
Hip
man, it
hop.
was worth it, right? You said I
I
lived.
was like, hip
Now it's
hop.
time to die.
And man,
But real quick, so when you transition from, literally the basement breaking, right, into
mhm.
the actual competitive scene, what is the Detroit scene like at that time? When you actually start, registering your name on the paper and jumping into the brackets.
Yeah. Um, that late 2000s, mid to like 2010, mid late, like 2006 up. I mean, the scene was pretty deep out here. We had a lot of crews, a good like and five crews, 4 or 5 crews don't sound like a lot, but they were pretty deep at the time. And I felt like a lot of crews were deeper back then because there was battles to enter with them. Now it's all 1v1, 2v2, at most 3v3. You catch a couple 5v5s randomly, but it's not the norm anymore. But like
Right, because you're talking about the era like when city versus city, 10 on 10s and
mhm.
stuff like that. Yeah, so like, man,
You could
it's
enter with
it's
your whole crew, and City
right,
vs. City is
everybody.
huge. Like
To orbit your box and blow the watch, vividly painted, leaving disoriented like shell shock. Warlike, the raw type, pseudo-galactic, explode I right to the core, like a planet caught in the gravitational pull, heating your transport, short-circuit communications to your port, all systems scorch, authentic as a Porsche emblem with a horse, set the course, and export rap, flaming up to torch your village, replenish the game, with inventive plot, vintage shot screen, keep them in stock, like new being, Rassar rain, like napalm bombs, went on the scene.
that was our freestyle session. That always felt like that. Like honestly, like City vs. City was like, holy crap, people from San Francisco are here. Oh my god, LA, K-Mel, like Natron, like it was just some of the battles we had seen that we were just like, wow, like that was they were amazing. Some of the best ones I thought, the best City vs. City I felt like in my opinion was City vs. City 4 at Cicero Stadium. I went to that. Yeah, and that was a fun time. I was me and my homie Shannon went and we were gonna crash like around the block from Cicero Stadium. We were gonna crash in our car. This is before Airbnbs, and I think
Right, right,
we
right.
weren't even old enough to rent a hotel. Like you had to be 21. We were 19, I think.
Said, but we out here.
And my homies were man of God, Jarius.
Okay.
Yeah, he had seen us and he was all like, "What do y'all do? Where y'all going? Like, where y'all headed after?" We're like, "Oh, we're just gonna crash." They're like, "Are you crazy? You know what hood you're in?" And I'm like, "Nah." I'm like, "We'd be straight. Like, as long as we ain't looking, nah, man, just come with us." He hooked us up with our. That's how I met Brave Monk. This dude named No One, Knowledge One, and we rode with them. And then we just hung out, did the whole Denny's thing. Ended up staying up till like 6 in the morning, sessioning at their crib and stuff like that after a city before. That was like the first night. The second night we ended up downtown somewhere in some high rise. One of these kids, rich kids, was no, one of these b-boys was dating this rich girl who had access to like this penthouse with this giant like up top rooftop thing, and we were all up there. There was a bunch of dudes from Boston, San Francisco, us, and we were all just practicing till like 4 in the morning until security came and threw us out and stuff. But yeah,
Wow.
it was those moments. But yeah, it's like at that time, that was a lot of us from Detroit were out there, so it was cool to like a lot of these crews were active. There was just a lot more activity in our scene. It's a lot smaller now. It's pretty much just like my like click, bad, battle attack, destroy, hardcore Detroit, and like they don't have any newer members or anything new life. The younger crew is bad, and they're kind of older as far as like crews goes now, like in the late mid 20s, late 20s. It's like in my head, I'm like, at least they made it past the college phase and they're still in the scene. They started out in college, but they made it out of the college phase and still going. But everybody else moved, like the U of M B-boys, like we had like Robotops and they were ill. We had like Vertical Ambition is up in Flint and they're solid. They're still moving and doing their thing. 616 really hasn't. They used to be a powerhouse out here, but they just haven't. They're just older, you know, like and their younger peeps didn't like stay involved like they did, and then like now there's a younger generation underneath me, everybody that comes out of the academy, so like it's smaller. But when it got into like when I started getting into like the battle scene, it was different. Like, you know, there was like crowd uh decision type things.
Right.
This is the early 2000s stuff. So
You mean like make some noise for if you like this side
yeah,
and
this side,
make some.
that side type things. And
Wow.
I guess we'll just give it to that side. Like, man, I remember it was just like, and then it was cool. Like, there's some footage I'll send you too.
Okay.
It's from like the early 2000s, like the GI Forum, and that was like a hall. I think it's called El Bosque now, but
It don't make no sense how we still be making no sense. People going crazy when they drop this, when the bass hit, to the drum kicks, get a drummer some, get a drummer some, get a drummer some on the drum. When they play this in the spot, watch the people go dumb.
Back at it, dag nabbit. Let the organ get a stab at it. It's a rap for niggas. I'm back rapping on the track. Black and the fuck out on the rap spazzing. Bling, wear a new era. Who dare to move where I'm at? Got a two barrel. Ooh shit, who is ringleader? He be the duelist, blue wrist, fooling in one of the blue.
Some of those battles, and it was kind of wild because nobody knew about each other. So like hardcore, like Halim, like hardcore Detroit had just like started calling themselves Hardcore Detroit. But they were coming to our practice at La Sed, and that was the only people we knew outside of like us. And then all of a sudden they throw this battle, and it was the lowrider scene. Like that's kind of like how we got started, like the B-boys in my neighborhood in Southwest Detroit. The lowrider clubs were looking for like stuff to keep people interested and stuff. So like, oh, let's get the breakers involved and blah, blah, blah. So it started out with some performances, and then, you know, this lowrider clubs had these little cousins who break and these lowriders. So then it turned into battles, and then they were like, oh, we'll do the elements something. I can't even remember. Size elements. Damn, what was the name of it? Anyway, I remember it. But yeah, some of the footage, and that was the first time we seen like a lot of the Asian dudes come down, because they had come down from like the North Burbs. They had never come down, so we didn't even know they existed. And then there was middle school crew who had come down, and they were older, and these were so it was wild because like the older dudes were at the 3 Floors of Fun in the clubs dancing and battling. That's where they were. They didn't come to our practices till after all of this. So it was like we all showed up thinking it was just going to be us, and then all of a sudden it turned into like these 3-4 other crews. Some crew came, Nuck and Futz, or NSA, and NSA / Nuck and Futz came down from Michigan State. And yeah, so it was like, and then that popped off the scene. Like that really popped off the scene. Then everybody knew each other. Master the Art happened. That started being like one of the biggest events we had and stuff like that from U of M. And then we just kind of stayed, the Detroit scene didn't really do too much outside of like all element type stuff. Like it was like we were involved with everybody. And then at time, then I started doing stuff at like a lot of the community centers I was working around in and around in my neighborhood. And then just slowly started getting momentum built and things like that. And now it's, like you were saying about like our proximity, the Windsor B-Boys have always been part of our history too. Like that Canada, like that's like to us in our head, Windsor feels like a suburb like of Detroit. It's not like a whole other country and whole other city. It's a suburb in my head, Um and yeah, so like, when they would come over, but they had their own style though. Like they were like the Windsor B-Boys were on their own wave, like which was dope to always have because it was like it always like we had this like clash all the time and stuff like that. Like, that ain't y'all getting down like Toronto B-Boys and stuff like that. Like, y'all just like trying to be like Toronto and blah, blah, blah and stuff. And
right.
It was always that side of things.
No doubt. And it's funny that you keep bringing up U of M. You a sports guy at all?
Mm-hmm.
Did you watch the game?
One, it's just unanimous. We don't like Ohio out here. So anytime there's a reason to go against Ohio, I'm for it. And then, it's like, it's funny because like all my homies are like real big, like either they went to state or they went to, U of M and stuff like that. And I'm just like, wherever y'all, whoever's at my house, I'm with and stuff like that.
Doubt.
I have more U of M gear than I do state gear, but whatever. I like blue more than green. That's what it comes down to for me. Blue and gold look better than green and white to
me. But they just recently beat Ohio State, so they might. You never know. By the time this come out, man, they might be in the college football playoff. You never know.
Yeah, and that was like the first time in like 8 yeyears or something like that. 9 years.
I think. Something crazy like that. First time for Harbaugh. Period.
Yep.
And so no doubt.
It's funny because like that our like that college sport culture is so big out here. Like even with the crews and like coming down, like there's always been like, U of M versus MSU B-boy clubs, breaking clubs, being very like at each other over that stuff. And I was always like, man, we could like, if we could figure out how to like really tap into that, that'd be really dope. Like when U of M and MSU play each other, at these what do you call it, the tailgates and stuff like that, we should throw a bash, but they're younger, they don't party like that, I guess. So I'm like, I'm not.
Hey man, that's an ill idea.
45 minutes west, I'm like, I'm straight.
But that's an ill idea. And I saw man, me and you, we getting all off topic, but it's all good. But we just two dudes talking.
They're doing it, but it's like I don't know. Like that's something that I've been talking to Soul about a lot. Is like some league stuff between like our academies and things like that in our region, and he's really good about it at his spot, doing like battle leagues between his students because that dude's got like easy 110 students. Like,
wow.
Yeah, he's doing amazing work. That they consistently come week by week and stuff like that. So.
For more quality content from Beyond the Cypher with Illskillz, don't forget to press the like and subscribe buttons. Also, feel free to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Beyond the Cypher. Let us know how we're doing down in the comment section. And to make sure you don't miss anything from the channel, smash that notification bell. We appreciate the love and support. Peace. Until the next episode.